Okay, everybody, it is time for part 4 and our final part of Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. Still rough reading, but we're going to end the book today. And then after we're done with this book, I am going to jump right back into my romance novelist reacts to Bridgerton videos, because I ended on a real big cliffhanger and waiting for the strike to be over was rough. So we're going to finish this today, and then we're going to jump back to romance novelist watches or reacts to Bridgerton or whatever it was. We're on chapter 37, and she's talking about her hair. Specifically how men find long hair attractive and they like to see girls flip their hair around and stuff. She says, if your hair's moving, they can believe you're having a good time. That is one of the most fucking ominous things I've ever read in my life. In the most demoralizing moments of my Las Vegas residency, I wore tight wigs, and I'd dance in a way where I wouldn't move a hair on my head. Everyone who was making money off me wanted me to move my hair, and I knew it. And so I did everything but that. When I look back, I realize how much of myself I withheld on stage, how much by trying to punish the people who held me captive, I punished everyone else too, including my loyal fans, including myself. You know what? I, being a fan, do not feel like anything was withheld. I think we all knew that you were going through some stuff, Britney. You were going through some stuff. She says that she did not feel like she was free to express herself as an artist. She also felt like when she did her album Glory, that she actually did start to feel more like a performer. Like she started to feel more like her old self and enjoying performing a little bit more. Even though she is getting back into the swing of things as a performer, she is still in this conservatorship, and she started to believe, for a bit here, she says she was like sleepwalking, but then she started to believe that she was capable of doing stuff. And so she started making these dreams and these plans in her head about escaping, and it seemed finally like, you know, it could happen. And so she and her boyfriend started talking about having a baby, but she was in her 30s, and she knew that, like, okay, time's gonna be running out to have a baby. And yet my father wouldn't let me go to the doctor when I asked for an appointment to get my IUD removed. This woman in her 30s had to ask her father, could she get her IUD removed? And Daddy said no. Because of the conservatorship, this was completely legal. My whole life changed in a way that might have been safer for me physically, but was absolutely horrible for my sense of joy and creativity. Now, in an earlier video, I talked about my highlighter and how my highlighter started to run out. It is like at this point in the book that literally you can barely see because my highlighter had run down so much. Because I have so much here highlighted that I'm like, I do not want to miss this, because that's just how bajonkers it was. And she says that people will say that the conservatorship saved her life, and she's like, well, not really. You know, like, her life was performing. It was like the only thing she knew, and the conservatorship sucked all the joy out of that. During the conservatorship, a team of people kept track of when I was going to use the toilet in the recording studio. I'm not even kidding. They kept track of when she went to the bathroom. This is an adult. I'd left home as a teenager because my family life was so terrible. All those times at 4 o'clock in the morning when I had to go out into the living room as a little girl and say, "Shut up, Mama," as my father lay passed out drunk in his chair. Those times had come back to me at 4 in the morning when I woke up and stared at the ceiling, wondering how these people had come to be in charge again. And that is when she's like, you know what, I'm gonna escape. I'm getting out of this. I'm gonna escape. In chapter 38, she said that she felt like her 3rd year in Las Vegas was when she kind of was like, this is the time I can start doing stuff. There came a point when my little heart said, I'm not going to stand for this. For so long, my parents had convinced me that I was the bad one, the crazy one, and it worked completely in their favor. It hurt my spirit. They put my fire out. I undervalued myself for a decade, but inside I was screaming about their bullshit. You have to understand the helplessness in that, the helplessness and the anger. it's another time where she's saying you have to understand. Like, she says that several times in this book, you have to understand. And that breaks my heart that, you know, to have somebody start a sentence off like you have to understand, because it means that they are not understood generally. They're not used to being understood or heard or valued. She also makes a remark about how she was in Las Vegas doing this residency, but she was kept on such a tight leash. And she's like, but why the fuck couldn't I sin in Sin City? One of the people that she looked up to at this time was Reese Witherspoon. Like, she decided that she was going to try to be like Reese Witherspoon. She was going to be strong, but she was going to be kind. And Reese Witherspoon was like her, like, inspiration. So this next paragraph hit me so hard because of all the stuff that I have, like, learned in my life and my career. And it's so true, okay? If no one is used to you being assertive, then they get very freaked out when you start speaking your mind. I felt myself turning into their worst fear. I was a queen now and starting to speak up. I imagined them bowing down to me. I felt my power surging back. It's true. If you don't stick up for yourself ever, and then you just suddenly object to something, the wheels come off. People cannot handle it. People go berserk because they're like, oh wait, I thought I was controlling this narrative. Wait a minute, I thought we had all had some unspoken agreement that you didn't get to speak up. And so when I heard my conservators trying to tell me once again that I was stupid if I tried to turn down a performance or find a way to give myself some more time off, I felt myself revolt. I thought, if you guys were trying to trick me into feeling bad for saying no, I'm not going to fall for it again. I know some people that need to get that shit tattooed on them. Like, just like on their forehead so they can read it in the morning. You wake up, you're brushing your teeth, just right across your forehead it says, if you guys are trying to trick me into feeling bad for saying no, I'm not going to fall for it again. Britney Spears. Circa 2023. She was really mad that she couldn't change up her show in Las Vegas, and she asked numerous times if they could do something to, like, remix the songs or switch up the dances or make the material fresher, because she had been doing it for 3 years. The message I kept getting was that their minds mattered. My mind was to be ignored. I was just there to perform for them, to make them money. And she says it's this huge waste because she has all these fans and she wants to keep things exciting for them. And there were songs that she wanted to sing that they were like, nope, those can't be in the show. It was so lazy, it was actually odd. I worried about what my fans would think of me. And you know, one of the things that I think about is, remember that meme that was going around where she was doing her show in Vegas and the guy in the audience yelled, "Who is it?" And then the audio cue was, "It's Britney, bitch." And then at all of the performances and all of her concerts, even like when she went on tour, people were doing that because they knew that that part was coming up. They knew that audio cue was coming up because the show was the same the whole time. So she has a point, like a super valid point, that yeah, it needed to be switched up a little bit in 3 years. What they would do instead of like changing the stuff that she was performing is that during like outfit changes during the show, they would switch the music that was played there. So some of her newer songs were playing while she was doing a costume change. And she said they acted like it was this huge favor that they were doing for her. It was embarrassing because I know the business. I knew it was totally possible for us to change up the show. My father was in charge and it wasn't a priority for him. And then she says, I feel now that it might have scared them for me to actually be the star. Instead, my dad was in charge of the star, me. So they're not letting her make her own artistic choices because they are afraid that she's going to do something amazing. And right now she's just chugging by as this little like money machine, like just spewing dollar bills out at them. But if she changes something up, if it doesn't go well or whatever, they could lose that money. She was given a Radio Disney Icon Award when Glory came out. And she said, well, as I sat in the audience seeing a medley of my songs performed, I had so many feelings. By the time Jamie Lynn made a surprise appearance to do a bit of Till the World Ends and to hand me my award, I was a ball of emotion. She says that she kept, she kept remembering performances that she had done in the past and how incredible it was to do all of these different things. Like, and then she said that she was sitting there to get that award and she was actually furious. Here were 3 singers and my sister doing new arrangements, something I had begged for 13 years, having fun with my songs in a way I hadn't in hundreds of performances, and I was sitting there having to smile. And you remember, her sister, whose entire fucking career is based off of being Britney Spears' sister, is getting to perform these like cool new remixes to songs that Britney wanted to remix. Like, that was what Britney wanted. It's very sad. It makes me sad. It makes me sad. Chapter 39, I had to get a new highlighter. I'm just saying, this book is not that long, and I still busted through a highlighter and probably a half. She said that before the conservatorship, if a friend called her up and said, let's go somewhere, she would just be like, sure, let's go, right? If you pissed me off, everybody would know about it. I was a little badass, but in Vegas I just smiled and nodded and did the same show again and again like a wind-up doll. The only thing that kept me going was knowing that I'd have 2 vacations with my kids, as I did every year. But the year that Gloria came out, I had to tour instead, which meant I wasn't allowed to go on vacation. I had to take the kids on tour with me, which wasn't fun for anyone. So the following year, I really needed those vacations. Yeah, so guess what? Guess what she doesn't get to do? She doesn't get to go to Maui. They say that, like, she's gonna, like, after Vegas ends, there's gonna be time between the tour and the Vegas residency that she can go take her kids on this vacation to Maui. And she's like, then they say, well, that's, you know, you're gonna have to go on tour right after Vegas ends. We can't just end it. We have to, you know, keep going through the summer. And she's like, that was not the deal. And I want to go to Maui. And they straight up were like, okay, fine, we'll go to court about it. Like, all she wants is to take her kids on a vacation, which has been promised to her. Like, be a good girl and you get this thing. Be a good girl and you get to take your kids to Maui. And then they take it away and she's like, wait, we didn't agree on that. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll go to court. Like, this is so sick. It is sick. The tour was hell. I know the dancers felt it too. We were more locked down than ever by the terms my father set. To even leave the room, we had to give the security team 2 hours notice. If she wanted to leave her room, she had to give the security team 2 hours notice. I'm repeating that because I want you to hear it again and know that yes, it is as absurd as it sounded the first time. And they were still making her do the same show basically from Vegas on tour. That's the only concession I asked for. And again, as always, they said no. Because if I actually took control of my show, it could awaken people to the fact that I might not need my dad as my conservator. I felt like he secretly liked me feeling less than. It gave him power. So she does the tour. She's like, finally, I get my time off. I get the whole summer off. They're like, no, actually you get 3 weeks because we're going to do Vegas again. And that's it. She's going to go back into her Vegas residency. Does anyone remember, was anybody online the night, and actually there's a date. Oh, it's in October of 2018, where it was like, Britney's going to make this huge announcement. And it was like in Vegas and everything was set up. And it was all over. Everybody's like tuning in on live stream to see what this giant big thing that Britney is going to do in Vegas. And everybody's tuning in like it's going to break the internet. Was anybody online when that was happening? Because it was wild. Because I watched this happen on a live stream. Because everybody was watching it, it seemed like. So she says that there was a bunch of songs, there were projections of things, there were fire pits, she comes up on a hydraulic lift, like it was like a big production. You're like, something big is gonna happen. I walked down the stairs in my high heels to work, bitch, and signed a few autographs for fans. But then I did something unexpected. I walked past the cameras. I kept walking until I got into an SUV and left. I said nothing. I did not perform. If you were watching, you were probably wondering, what just happened? Yeah, that's all we were talking about. Like on Twitter, we were like, what was that about? Like, we sat here and we waited and we waited and we waited, and then she like appeared and she signed some autographs and then she left. Like, it seemed like maybe she was going to be announcing an album or another tour or like a Vegas residency. I was like, oh, she's probably going to do another residency, right? But it was just like, she just came out and was like, hi, and like talked to the fans and left. What you didn't see was that my father and his team were trying to force me to announce the show. I'd said I didn't want to announce it because, as I'd been saying for months, I didn't want to do it. Yeah, she just didn't want to do the show, so she was like, I'm not going to announce it. But then she said, once I made it clear that I wasn't going to keep doing Vegas, my family made me disappear. Yikes. So we are on chapter 41, and her father is like, I'm taking your boys for Christmas back to Louisiana with me and your mom. And they don't want to be with you. They want to be with me. And she's like, yeah, okay, that's fine if that's what they want to do, right? But she's still having to rehearse for this Vegas show that hasn't been canceled. At a rehearsal one day, I'd been working with all the dancers, both old and new, when one of the dancers who'd been with the show the past 4 years did a move for us all. I winced when I saw it. It looked really challenging. I don't want to do that one, I said. It's too hard. It didn't seem like a big deal to me, but suddenly my team and the directors disappeared into a room and shut the door. And she's thinking, you know, okay, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong by saying that I don't want to do this move. Like, the first residency was 5 years ago. My body is different. I don't need to be trying this new stuff. Let's just make it let's change it up a little bit. A day later in therapy, my doctor confronted me. We found energy supplements in your purse, he said. So once again, non-prescription, over-the-counter nutritional supplements for energy. Like, she's carrying her entire family and somebody's business and all of these jobs and shit on her back. They're all the reason that, you know, they're only getting paid because of her, right? And she's taking over-the-counter energy supplements. And this is, like, big enough that they can, like, attack her for it. And they do. We feel like you're doing way worse things behind our backs, he said, and we don't feel like you're doing well in rehearsals. You're giving everyone a hard time. So her therapist is like, yeah, you're giving everybody a hard time in rehearsals. It's just she didn't want to do one move because she's like, you know, my body's different now, and I don't really, you know, I don't think that's something I can do anymore. She's in her 30s. She's in her late 30s at this point. Obviously, she can't do some of the things she did when she was 18, and for that it's giving everybody a hard time. And a flashy doctor who I'd seen on TV and instinctively hated came to my house against my will, sat me down, and tested my cognitive abilities for hours because she didn't want to do a move because she felt like her body could no longer do it. Once again, they send her to rehab for $60,000 a month. They would not even tell her how long she would be away for. They were like, it depends on what you do, and, you know, all of this stuff. Like, just, it was punishment. She was being punished. My father said that if I didn't go, then I'd have to go to court and I'd be embarrassed. He said, we will make you look like a fucking idiot, and trust me, you will not win. It's better me telling you to go versus a judge in court telling you. I felt like it was a form of blackmail and I was being gaslit. I honestly felt like they were trying to kill me. I had never stood up to my dad in all those years. I never said no to anyone. My no in that room that day really pissed my dad off. So her thought was, you know what? I have to go do this. I have to get this over with. I'm just going to go. It's going to be like all the other times. I'll just go to the rehab thing. Then I'll be done. It'll be in the past. You know, everything will be fine. Only that didn't happen, getting it over with, that is. Because once I got there, I couldn't leave, even though I kept begging to. They kept me locked up against my will for months. Yep, that's what happens, I guess, when you break the contract or whatever by aging and not being able to dance the way that you used to dance. You go to a rehab facility for months. This is chapter 42. The doctors took me away from my kids and my dogs in my house. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't drive a car. I had to give blood weekly. I couldn't take a bath in private. I couldn't shut the door to my room. I was watched even when I was changing. I had to go to sleep at 9 p.m. They supervised me watching TV from 8 to 9 o'clock in bed. So there was mandatory therapy, and she said one of the things that was the worst, one of the things that did the most damage was seeing other people come in and then like do their treatment and leave while she's just constantly stuck there. I did everything I was supposed to do. My kids would come for an hour on the weekends, but if I didn't do what I was supposed to do during the week, I wouldn't be allowed to see them. So they withhold her kids, they're locking her up. She said that one of the fun things was that like her friend called and he'd been bitten by a scorpion. So one of her friends getting bitten by a scorpion and calling her on the phone to tell her about it is like one of the most like memorable and fun things about this time in her life. Like, that's wild. So the therapists, she said she was going to therapy for hours every day, 7 days a week. She was taken off of Prozac and put on lithium. And anybody who has ever had any mental health care knows that that's like if you needed to pressure wash some graffiti off the side of your house, so you chose to use like an atomic powered drill or something. This was 100% just to make her a zombie. On lithium, I didn't know where I was or even who I was sometimes. My brain wasn't working the way it used to. It wasn't lost on me that lithium was the drug my grandmother Jean, who later committed suicide, had been put on in Mandeville. Her dad is doing to her what his dad did to his mom. She said that all the time there were security guards around her, that she felt like she was being treated like she was what she uses the cannibal or a bank robber or a wild animal. And yeah, they're acting this way when they've got somebody so stoned out on lithium they don't know what day it is or where they are, and they've got security guards around them all the time. She also said that they restricted her movement, that she was like supposed to just sit in a chair for like hours and hours and hours a day and not do anything or whatever, and that she felt restless because she has like all of this energy that she's used to having from performing, and now she's like sitting in a chair. And she said she felt like she was deliberately being tortured. She compares it to hell. She says it was like her own personal horror movie, and basically that she's not scared of anything anymore. I'm probably the least fearful woman alive at this point, but it doesn't make me feel strong. It makes me sad. I shouldn't be this strong. Those months made me too tough. I miss my days of being what in Kentwood we used to call a sass ass. That time in the hospital took away my sassiness. In so many ways, it broke my spirit. Chapter 43 starts out, the hardest part was that I believed that, in front of the doctors or visitors, I had to pretend the whole time I was okay. If I became flustered, it was taken as evidence that I wasn't improving. If I got upset and asserted myself, I was out of control and crazy. Like, what in the Rose Kennedy? Like, what on earth? Like, what is happening here? Like, this is still happening to people. We talk about things like, I'm sorry, everybody had to read the Yellow Wallpaper at some point in their education, but like, how is this still going on? I think in the last video I said that we used to do lobotomies and now we do conservatorships. That's pretty much what it is. She says that her dad told her that if she wanted to leave the facility, it wasn't up to him. A judge would have to sign off on it. And she really did feel like he was keeping her there because she didn't want to do the Vegas show. And meanwhile, like she said, you know, he always talked about her and her kids like he just lived for them. He was so proud of her and that's my girl and all of that stuff. But then she doesn't want to do the Vegas show. And he's like, well, I'm washing my hands of you. I'm throwing you in this place and we'll see if you ever get out. A lawyer would later say, your dad could have totally put a stop to all that. He could have told the doctors, no, this is too much. Let's let my daughter go home. but he didn't. She goes to her mom. Her mom's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And then she goes to her sister and asks for help getting out. Sister says, stop fighting it, she texted back. There's nothing you can do about it, so stop fighting it. Along with the rest of them, she kept acting like I was a threat in some way. This will sound crazy, but I'll say it again because it's the truth. I thought they were going to try to kill me. So I think anybody who hasn't been in a situation like that probably might go like, that's a little dramatic. Like, she thought they were going to kill her. But if you think about it, like, she's right. She was missing for months, and all they were saying was like, oh, she's in rehab or whatever. They could have just disappeared her permanently. It happens. Like, where's Shelly? You know what I mean? They could have Shellied her. She said that she was really struggling, and one of the nurses, who she said was the only one who was real as hell, showed her something on the computer. It was women on a talk show talking about me in the conservatorship. One was wearing a hashtag Free Britney t-shirt. The nurse showed me clips of other things too. Fans saying they were trying to figure out if I was being held somewhere against my will, talking about how much my music meant to them and how they hated to think I was suffering now. They wanted to help, and just by doing that, they did help. So, that's fantastic. Like, just she finally knew that people were wondering if she was safe and where she was. The same way I believe that I can sense how someone's feeling in Nebraska, I think my connection to my fans helped them subconsciously know that I was in danger. We have a connection no matter where we are in space. That is like such a nice thing to think. And like a part of me is like, I bet that's kind of true. But then the other part of me is like, no, you just really lucked out because your fans are absolutely like obsessed with you to the point that they are still trying to save you in the most annoying ways possible. The truth is, I was being held against my will, and I did long to know that people might care about whether I lived or died. And she also says, everyone who spoke out for me helped me survive that hard year, and the work they did helped me win my freedom. She says, you know, she doesn't know if everybody's aware of how much the hashtag Free Britney thing meant to her. If you stood up for me when I couldn't stand up for myself, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. That got me the first time I read it, and it's getting me again now. Chapter 44, she gets out. She says, guess who wants to come visit me? It's my family. We're so proud of you, Brittany, my dad said. You did it. Now we all want to come and stay with you. But by this point, I could fully see through his bullshit. I knew what he was really saying was, I can't wait to see your money. I mean you. So her father, mom, sister, and her nieces went to visit her as soon as she got out. She was still on lithium, which made her very loopy, so she was afraid they were coming to kill her. They acted like nothing happened and that they hadn't done anything to her. Just like, oh, like she was sick and got better. Not like it was a punishment, you know? Jamie Lynn had scheduled all these TV show meetings when she was in Los Angeles. My dad would go with her to the meetings in Hollywood, and she'd come back loud and happy. Yeah, I bet. She'd really found her mojo. I was happy for her. At the same time, I didn't particularly want to be around it just then. Oh my God, I have this really great idea for me and you, she'd say after coming back from yet another meeting as I leaned practically comatose against the countertop. Get this, a sister talk show. Every time she spoke, it was a new scheme, a sitcom, a rom-com. Of course, because she has no talent on her own. She has to have her sister. Like, her sister, I think out of anybody, like, I know that her parents took a lot of her money, but I think her sister, like, probably gained more from being related to Britney Spears than anybody else in that family. She says she came, when she was in that rehab, she came really, really close to, you know, herself. She said, how had I managed not to kill myself in that place? Put myself out of my misery like you'd shoot a lame horse. I mean, she really believes, she's like, I'm super strong for not doing it. Yeah, you are super strong. But then she, even though she's still on the lithium, things are still weird at home, she hits a wall with her father finally when her father does something to her son. That August, my father was arguing with Sean Preston, who was 13 at the time. My son went to lock himself in a bedroom to end the fight, and my dad broke down the door and shook him. Kevin filed a police report, like the first good thing Kevin has done, and my father was barred from seeing the kids. So she's like, yeah, no, we're done with this. Because honestly, everything so far in her life and in resisting this conservatorship has been because she is doing it for her kids. I was going to ask with every bit of my motherfucking blood and skin for the end of the conservatorship, because I didn't want those people running my life anymore. I didn't even want them in my goddamn kitchen. So, chapter 45, the first step toward securing my freedom was for people to begin to understand that I was still a real person, and I knew that I could do that by sharing more of my life on social media. That's when she got her Instagram, and she was putting on clothes and starts doing her Instagram dancing and stuff like that. And she's like, you know, people thought that it was weird, but I really didn't care because it was the first time in her life that she felt like she was sexualizing herself when she was like being sexy on Instagram. Like that it was the first time she was doing it rather than someone else doing it to her. She was absolutely loving spending time with her kids. But then COVID happened. She said basically she just read a lot of audiobooks and made jewelry. She likes narrators that have British accents, just so you know. If you are narrating an audiobook and you want Britney Spears to read it, use a British accent. She said that during lockdown she was so lonely she even called her family. But even though, like, she went to the beach, and out on the beach by herself, all alone, outdoors, she took her mask off, and she got scolded by her security team. Like, she had to put it back on. And then she would go home and, like, try to call her mom or whatever, because she was so lonely, she was talking to her family. And she would call them, and they'd be like, oh, we're out shopping. So, like, she couldn't, like, take her mask off all by herself on a beach, far away from anybody. But her mom would be out shopping. Why did I keep talking to them? I'm not sure. Why do we ever stay in dysfunctional relationships? For one thing, I was still scared of them, and I wanted to make nice. My father still legally was me, as he never hesitated to point out, though I hoped not for long. It was during this period of time with my family that I learned that while I'd been in the mental health facility, they'd thrown away a lot of what I'd stored at my mother's house. The Madame Alexander dolls I'd collected as a girl were all gone. So were 3 years worth of my writing. I had a binder full of poetry that had real meaning for me. All gone. When I saw the empty shelves, I felt an overwhelming sadness. I thought of the pages I'd written through tears. I never wanted to publish them or anything like that, but they were important to me, and my family had thrown them in the trash, just like they'd thrown me away. Yeah. That hurts. Let me tell you how much that sucks, because I had an interaction years ago with my mother about my baby pictures, and she very casually mentioned throwing them away. She's like, I think I threw those away. My baby pictures? Why doesn't Jenny talk to me? In that moment, I made peace with my family, by which I mean that I realized I never wanted to see them again, and I was at peace with that. Good job, Britney. Good job, Britney. She was talking to her court-appointed lawyer all the time, and she felt like he just was not interested in anything to do with helping her. So on the night of June 22nd, 2021, from my home in California, I called 911 to report my father for conservatorship abuse. And she said then it was a really rough period. There was going to be documentary after documentary about her coming out on streaming services. This was what was going on when I learned that my sister would be coming out with a book. Let me tell you, I hope Britney got to see how much we all roasted that book and her sister online when it came out, because there was nobody scrambling to get that book the way we were scrambling to get our hands on this book. And the only way we were scrambling to get our hands on that book was to make fun of that bitch. Chapter 47, she is talking to the court. It says, on June 23rd, 2021, I was finally due to address a Los Angeles probate court on the subject of the conservatorship, and I knew the world was listening. So legitimately on the 22nd, she called 911 on her father, and on the 23rd, she was on the phone to the court. She wanted it to be open. Like, she said she wanted the hearing to be public because she wanted everybody to hear what she had to say. And she also said that, like, you know, she was afraid that nobody would believe her because she said her own voice had been used against her. Basically, she had been, oh, everything's fine, I'm fine, this whole time. And now she was afraid that people weren't going to believe her. What if they called me crazy? What if they said I was lying? What if I said the wrong thing and it all went sideways? Can you even imagine how scary that moment would be when you know you're literally, everything you say is part of you fighting for your freedom, and you don't know if people are gonna, like, believe it? That's so sad. And I know I keep saying that it's sad, but it's spooky. It's very spooky. The judge told her, you know, you have a lot of courage for, like, coming and saying all this stuff today. She said, that made me feel a sense of relief, like I'd finally been listened to after 13 years. She also said that her family, like, she had put up with them running things for her, but after that facility, that was just too far. I was treated like a criminal, and they made me think I deserved that. They made me forget my self-worth and my value. Of all the things they did, I will say that the worst was to make me question my faith. I never had strict ideas about religion. I just knew there was something bigger than me. Under their control, I stopped believing in God for a while. That's wild. Chapter 48, she has a new lawyer. Because she found out that they've been lying to her for 13 years. She can get whatever lawyer she wants. He was appalled that I'd been denied my own lawyer for so long. He said even vicious criminals get to pick their own lawyers, and he said he hated bullying. I was glad because I saw my father and Lou and Robin as bullies, and I wanted them out of my life. So the lawyer is going to go to court, file a motion to remove her dad as conservator, and then after that it would be easier to terminate the conservatorship. That happened on September 29th. Her father was suspended as the conservator. I felt relief sweep over me. The man who had scared me as a child and ruled over me as an adult, who had done more than anyone to undermine my self-confidence, was no longer in control of my life. Like, how amazing is that, right? That was in September. I was at a resort in Tahiti in November when Matthew called me with the news that I was no longer under a conservatorship. He told me when I left for the trip that one day soon I'd be able to wake up for the first time in 13 years a free woman. Still, I couldn't believe it when he called me as soon as he came out of the court hearing and told me it was done. I was free. Yeah, that would be the weirdest feeling. To just be sitting there and just one phone call like, oh yeah, by the way, you can choose whatever you want to eat now. You can choose to go somewhere. You don't have to give someone 2 hours notice or have them monitor when you go to the bathroom. He said that by giving my testimony, I'd freed myself and probably also helped other people in unfair conservatorships. After having my father take credit for everything I did for so long, it meant everything to have this man tell me that I'd made the difference in my own life and in other people's life, because, like, I had no idea that this was a thing. I think a lot of people had no idea that conservatorships could be abused like this. And then right after that, we found out that there were other stars that were in conservatorships. She talks about her kids in such a cool, like, mom way. Like, she talks about how she went jet skiing with them and, like, they're dangerous on jet skis. And that she likes to walk around her house singing now. She feels great now. I thought I might get a studio again someday and just play around, but for some time I hadn't been thinking about recording. I changed my mind about that when I got invited to record a song with an artist I've admired my entire life, Sir Elton John. So yeah, he decided to do a song with her, and that got her back into music. I'd been taught through the conservatorship to feel almost too fragile, too scared. That's the price I paid under the conservatorship. They took a lot of my womanhood, my sword, my core, my voice, the ability to say fuck you. And I know that sounds bad, but there is something crucial about this. Don't underestimate your power. The song comes out that she did with Elton John. It's #1 in 40 countries. It was a big hit. Fans thought she sounded great. Pushing forward in my music career is not my focus at the moment. Right now, it's time for me to try to get my spiritual life in order, to pay attention to the little things, to slow down. It's time for me to not be someone who other people want. It's time to actually find myself. If she never makes another piece of music, if she is never in another music video, if she never does another interview, another concert, an album, anything, if she just drops off the face of the planet right now, she deserves it. She gets to do that. The day the conservatorship ended, I was left with so many emotions. Shock, relief, elation, sadness, joy. I felt betrayed by my father, and sadly by the rest of my family too. My sister and I should have found comfort in each other, but unfortunately that hasn't been the case. As I was fighting the conservatorship and receiving a lot of press attention, she was writing a book capitalizing on it. She rushed out salacious stories about me, many of them hurtful and outrageous. I was really let down. That's right. That's right. But guess what? Britney's a better person than me, because she goes on to say, Jamie Lynn clearly suffered in our family home too. She grew up a child of divorce, which I did not. It seems that she didn't get a lot of parenting, and I know it was hard to try to sing and act and make her own way in the world in the shadow of a sibling who got not only most of the family's attention, but a lot of the world's. My heart goes out for her for all those reasons. She also says again, like, maybe she doesn't understand that how desperately poor they were back in the 1980s. But again, I just don't think Britney Spears has a realistic idea of what desperately poor is, because you can look up pictures of their home when she was a child, and it's like, you know, your dad had 2 businesses and owned his own home. Maybe you didn't have a lot of money for toys. Maybe there wasn't always food in the refrigerator, but that's like poor financial decisions, not poverty. Like, if you own a home and you own 2 businesses, you're not desperately poor. You're just not. She says that she will always love her sister, even though she knows that she's been through a lot, but she says, I'm working to feel more compassion than anger toward her and toward everyone who I feel has wronged me. It's not easy. That kills me, that she's just like, I'm still trying to see the good in people. It's like, oh my gosh. I was just having this discussion with a friend the other day where I was saying that too many people try to find the good in everyone. Sometimes there is no good. Because of all the trauma, she has like a lot of trauma that is manifesting in physical symptoms. She says, migraines are just one part of the physical and emotional damage I have now that I'm out of the conservatorship. I don't think my family understands the real damage that they did. For 13 years, I wasn't allowed to eat what I wanted, to drive, to spend my money how I wanted, to drink alcohol or even coffee. Freedom to do what I want to do has given me back my womanhood. In my 40s, I'm trying things for what feels like the first time. I feel like the woman in me was pushed down for so long. That's the title of the book. It's the title of the book in the book. In chapter 49, she says, when I regained my freedom, that was my cue to step out onto dry land. And anytime I want, to take vacations, sip a cocktail, drive my car, go to a resort, or stare out at the ocean. I've been taking it a day at a time and trying to be thankful for the little things. I'm thankful that my father is not in my life. I don't have to be scared of him anymore. If I gain weight, it's a relief to know that no one is going to be there shouting at me, you need to pick it up. I get to eat chocolate again. You get to eat all the chocolate you want, but Britney, I am here and I'm begging you. I'm begging you as one mother to another, as one Caucasian to another. Please put on sunscreen. You are always sunburned. She talks about her Instagram passion. I know that a lot of people don't understand why I love taking pictures of myself naked or in new dresses, but I think if they'd been photographed by other people thousands of times, prodded and posed for other people's approval, they'd understand that I get a lot of joy from posing the way I feel sexy and taking my own picture, doing whatever I want with it. I feel like that thing with her dancing, so many people are like, oh, Britney's so crazy. She's always dancing. But if you look at her Instagram videos of her dancing, and then you look at like dance routines she's done at award shows, they're basically the same thing. That's just her choreography. Britney spins. I don't know what to tell you. Britney spins. So she's getting her trust back, she says, in people. She said that she's going back to places that she loved to go to. Then she says that she had a miscarriage. She felt really bad that she had to get out of Instagram and say that, like, you know, they had lost their baby, because she'd been so excited when she announced it. And that breaks my heart. But she says she's trying to, like, heal from losing, because she said, you know, losing a baby is devastating. It is. So she's trying to heal from that. I try not to think too much about my family these days, but I do wonder what they will think of this book, because I was silenced for 13 years. I wonder if, when they see me speaking out, they've had the occasional thought, maybe she's right. I believe they have a guilty conscience, that they know deep down it was very, very wrong to do to me what they did. Again, Britney's much nicer than I am, because I do not feel that they have those feelings at all. They are probably sitting around talking about what a big bitch and a villain she is, and that is why they don't need to be in her life. There's been a lot of speculation about how I'm doing. I know my fans care. I am free now. I'm just being myself and trying to heal. I finally get to do what I want when I want, and I don't take a minute of it for granted. Freedom means being goofy, silly, and having fun on social media. Freedom means taking a break from Instagram without people calling 911. Yeah, stop doing that, guys. Freedom means being able to make mistakes and learning from them. Freedom means I don't have to perform for anyone, on stage or off stage. Freedom means that I get to be as beautifully imperfect as everyone else. And freedom means the ability and the right to search for joy in my own way, on my own terms. And again, Britney spins. If you have a problem with her on Instagram spinning, don't look at her Instagram. Britney spins. Her last line of the book is, "It's been a while since I felt truly present in my own life, in my own power, in my womanhood, but I'm here now." And then in the acknowledgments, the first line is, "If you follow me on Instagram, you thought this book was going to be written in emojis, didn't you?" With like a line of that heart, the rose emoji she always uses. Yeah, this book is absolutely brutal. This is brutal. This is honestly should be required reading in any courses on feminism, I would say, because it's not, this is a modern day example of what happens to women when they misbehave. And like I said, it used to be lobotomies and now it's conservatorships. And this is really important, and I'm really glad she wrote this book, and I'm really sad that she went through all of that stuff. I'm very sad that she went through all of that stuff, but I'm so shocked, and I have a lot of admiration for the fact that she doesn't hate everybody. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, check out the description box, and sit with this for a while. I'll catch you on the flip side.